with Mike here. We're going to have a quick weekend down there. First trip with a child. That's the theme. Last Monday, we had a first trip with a kid too. So, yeah, we're going to have a good time talking Disney. So settle in. Let us know you're there, where you're listening from. We're both in St. Louis. We're both Mike's in St. Louis. Pretty simple. Can't miss it. And this will be for Monday. All right. We have a live studio audience of one golden doodle who is asleep. She is out like a light. Got her hair done today, and I guess it exhausted her. All right. Okay, 1865. Here we go. Welcome to episode number one. I'll try that again. How do I say number? Like I haven't done this before. Okay. Episode 1865. Oh, she's not sleeping. She's chewing on something. I couldn't figure out what that noise was because I could hear something right outside my head.
Do you edit this down much after you record it? I guess you'll cut off the front there. I'm just curious how much.
Yeah, I just started over. Yeah, I usually don't edit much. I'm usually rolling on. Okay, I just cut that out so I don't have to even edit that. Okay, here we go. Welcome to episode 1865 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents. You know it, over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. And how was that shortest weekend of the year? You're probably tired today, right? Yeah, you know what? I'm tired this Monday, but I'm tired every Monday. It's how it is. That's called being 47 and a dad. It's exhausting, and you're always tired. And it doesn't matter what age you are, even if you're a parent or not a parent nowadays. It's 2021. We're all tired, and I don't think that 1 hour sleep is going to make much of a difference. But hopefully we'll get to enjoy some more time after work and after school outside. And last week here in the Midwest, and our guest today, he's here in St. Louis with me as well. We had some amazing weather for a long stretch. I mean, 70s here in March. It's been beautiful. I had the shorts on, enjoying, just going out, taking the dog for a walk and all that stuff. Yep, that's gone. It's going to be rainy in the 50s and all that stuff. So as soon as it stays light longer, the good weather goes away. But that's how it is. But hey, we're gonna switch it up here and have some fun by talking Disney. So as I said, joining me from here in St. Louis, Missouri, we have listener Mike. So it's Mike and Mike from St. Louis. What's up, Mike?
Not only Mike and Mike, but we almost have the same last name.
That is true. I didn't even think about that. Our last names are very, very similar.
Rollman and Rolfing were basically the same person.
That's a little crazy. It's a little
Cardinals fans.
Yeah. How about the Blues? You like the Blues?
Of course.
That was right. Toasted ravioli.
It's fine. Ted Drews. Ted Drews and Lion's Choice. I love Lion's Choice.
Yes. And Ricky loves her Lion's Choice. She misses out on that being down in Atlanta now. But if you don't know what Lion's Choice is, when you get to St. Louis, you got to check it out. It's roast beef. It's a fast food roast beef place, but they put some intense seasoning on the roast beef, and it's a little rare. Some people are a little bit shocked when if you're a little nervous, you might not even want to open up the sandwich. Just eat it and trust me.
Well, it's not like deli meat. It's actually like a hunk of beef they slice. Medium rare. It's like Arby's is dog food compared to Lion's Choice.
It's pretty awesome. It is pretty awesome. We got to check that out because it was like Lion's Choice. They serve lion. No, it's not lion. It's roast beef.
No, it needs the lion inside of you.
That's exactly right. And we have one right across the street. All right. So before we hop into talking about this really unique trip, you took a quick trip recently, lots of firsts. So we'll be talking about that, but just give us a little background on your Disney fandom, like how it started and some of your favorite things, all this. We just like to get to know our listeners before we get rocking here.
Of course. And if you want to hear even more, I was on your episode 1472.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. No, I can't remember.
That was like April of a couple of years ago. Yeah. Disney. I've always loved Disney. Obviously grew up watching the movies as a child, and also went to the theme parks a number of times because we lived in Connecticut for a few years, and it was a little closer to drive down there than it is to drive down there from St. Louis. And I think now as an adult, it's part nostalgia and part just I love the creativity and the technology and the innovation and also just the history of everything. I think the combination of all those things is why I love it so much, and just the vibe of being there.
Right. So with the 50th coming up, I just want to ask, some of our listeners just moving forward, what are you most excited about? We have a lot of new stuff that's either going to open. We found out just this past week, that Ratatouille is going to open on October 1st. I know a lot of people are upset about that, but Disney's smart as far as logistics. Will spread people out hopefully. But Yeah, a lot of stuff's going to be changing. Epcot's changing the whole park. You got some new attractions. Just what has you excited as far as things moving forward?
Yeah, I think the potential of Epcot is what's making me very excited. When I was just there, a few weeks ago, it was a huge construction site. And I always really liked Future World, but I'm really excited to see what they do with that. I know those plans are a little bit in flux with that giant three-story building they were going to build. I'm excited for the Ratatouille ride, which is, like you said, is opening soon. I actually got to go on that in Paris a number of years ago, which
Oh,
so
nice. Oh,
I've
is it,
gotten
let
to
me
experience
let me
it.
ask you though, is
Yeah,
it worth the wait? I mean, is this going to be something that people are really raving about, or is it just what are your thoughts?
it's really cool. It's not as cool as Rise of the Resistance.
I don't think we're expecting that, but yeah, I get it. Yeah.
It's a similar idea. The trackless ride, some screens combined with practical things, um, but it can't rival the Star Wars ride.
Right. Right. Yeah, I don't expect that, but I'm expecting it'll just be nice to have another experience back in World Showcase, right? I mean,
Definitely.
I like what World Showcase is, but give me more.
I call it a
Well,
less high-tech version of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
that's what I'm trying to compare it to because I haven't been on it, but I mean, I've been on Mickey and Minnie's, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but I just look at it as fun. It's a fun addition to the studio. So just having more back in France is going to be exciting. So now you've been overseas to Paris. So what led you to that park?
So I am a filmmaker, video editor. I work in production, and I produced a short film that actually made it all the way to the Cannes Film Festival in France. And
Nice.
so we went over there for that for a week, my wife and I, and we're like, well, if I'm in France, I gotta go to Disneyland Paris, which she thought I was a little bit crazy, but we took a day and went there, and it was really neat. I think their Hollywood Studios Park, is that what it's called? Their Studios
Yeah,
Park has a little bit to be desired, but I believe they're working on a massive renovation there at some point soon. That
that's
is where
ex-
the Ratatouille ride is, which was the best part of that park.
that's so funny you say that because, of course, I've never been to Europe. I'd love to go someday, but we'll see. I'm typical St. Louis, and like I dream, but probably Paducah, Kentucky's as far as I'll ever get. I feel like, but it's all those things like that. I always hear that like Disneyland Paris, the castle's awesome.
Yeah.
The Studios Park leaves a lot to be desired. That's what everybody says.
But
Everybody
but
says that exact thing.
but their Magic Kingdom park, their Disneyland Paris, is beautiful, and it's way bigger than Magic Kingdom. Everything's just more spread out. I'd say it's better landscaped. It was a beautiful park, but fewer things to do. We ran out of things to do by like 5 o'clock, and then it started raining, and then we just took the train back to our hotel.
Yeah, I mean, you can't win them all, I guess. But you had your fill. There you go. It's pretty sweet.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk about this trip you took. So, what led you to going down this time of year? When did you go? Who'd you travel with? All that good stuff.
So I have two daughters, one who will soon be three, and one that'll soon be one. And we wanted to, and our 2-year-old soon to be three is loves Mickey and loves Disney and loves cars, and she's super into all that stuff. And I wanted to get her there before she wasn't free anymore. Um,
I feel you there. Trust me, I've been there a bunch. It's amazing. Remember, you're still two. No,
yeah,
it didn't work anymore.
and obviously, pandemic is a major factor, and we've been pretty strict around our household of what we're doing and where we're going and who we're seeing. But my wife and I both work at a school that's been in session since August, and it's been going great. And kids wear masks well, and we're around enough crowds wearing masks that we figured, what could be worse?
Instead of being around, kids in school, why not just be
Yeah,
around having some fun?
yeah.
Rides.
And so we were going to go over Thanksgiving, but we canceled that trip, and then we decided, all right, let's just pick a random weekend in February. There's no holiday. We'll take an extra day off work. It's long enough after Christmas that if the pandemic is spiked, it'll maybe go down by then. And so we picked Super Bowl weekend,
Okay. All right.
which both days, the
You,
fifth and
you,
sixth. Yeah,
you didn't get to see Tom Brady.
no,
That's probably a
no,
good thing,
we did
being
not.
from St. Louis.
Now I wasn't thinking that the Super Bowl was only an hour and a half away, but I guess they weren't really allowing crowds. Um, so yeah, so the idea of it not being super crowded and not being a holiday weekend led us to that weekend. And so my wife and I took just our 2-year-old. We left the 1-year-old behind with grandma and grandpa to experience that. The other thing is I really wanted to see Galaxy's Edge. I have not done that yet. I had not done that yet. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and so I wanted to take advantage of that while the crowds were smaller.
Okay, so let me ask you about that though. Okay, you've been because Galaxy's Edge has been around for a long time at this point. Well, not a long time, but I mean, year and a half. Did you try to stay away from spoilers, or because it'd have been that's a long time to try to? Because I always try to stay spoiler free, but I mean, doing the podcast and the line of work I'm in, it's so hard. How'd you do?
I am terrible with theme park spoilers. I watch all the YouTubers. I listen to you. I listen to, Len and Jim. However, I decided early on that I was not gonna look at anything about Rise of the Resistance. I
Nice.
couldn't avoid Millennium Falcon because that one came out first, and I was too, I had to watch all the videos when the land opened. But Rise of the Resistance, I had read a couple articles, I'd maybe seen a commercial or two, but I powered through for years to make sure I didn't see extended footage from that ride, and I will say it was completely worth it.
I will say I was the same way. I stayed clear of spoilers until I got to experience Rise, and it wasn't. It was a few months later, and tough to do. We try to be careful that here on the show. We don't want to spoil anybody's first experience with anything. We try to give it a long time. We still don't really talk about what happens on Rise here on the show, but
Good.
it's one of those things I do remember. I remember I was running one morning around the lake. I get up at like 5:30 in the morning, still dark most mornings when I'm starting, and I was listening to Len and Jim, and they were jumping into all these spoilers about Rise of the Resistance. I couldn't get to my phone fast enough. When I was out, nobody's out there. I was like, because I didn't want to hear it, so I could hit the pause button and fast forward because I did not want to get spoiled. I'm like, oh no, they're gonna do it because I have my AirPods in. I was like, this is my worst nightmare because Len goes so fast, man. He could tell you the whole spiel in like 28 seconds and you'd be done. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's a tough thing, but was it worth? We'll get into the experience, but was it worth it? All that work trying to stay spoiler free?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, definitely. And because, like I said, I didn't avoid Making Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is a cool ride, but I had watched it 100 times on YouTube because my kid loves it. Just things like that. So to like have a completely like fresh experience, I had never really done that at a Disney theme park.
All right, so let's talk about the logistics of this trip. So you go down February. I can't remember. Did you guys fly? Did you guys drive from St. Louis? How'd you get there?
So we flew on a Thursday night thinking the plane wouldn't be too crowded. It was completely full, but whatever.
Yeah.
We had our own row.
You know what? I flew back in December, and because I went down in August, the plane was only about a third of the way full. I took Mallory right after the parks reopened. We just went for a week, actually 5 days. We just got a steal of deal. We both had annual passes, so we just went. She hadn't been doing anything all summer. And then I went back in December for the Give Kids the World fundraiser that we did at the Village, and that plane was packed. And I'll tell you what, though, like that, the way I saw it was, it was as safe as it could be with a full plane, but I felt way more comfortable as soon as I got off the plane for the rest of the time. Like that was probably the most intense part of the entire experience for me.
Yeah, the airport and the airplane. Like I said, I've been pretty strict about what we've been doing and where we've been going and mask wearing. And like when I'm at work at school, I do not remove my mask unless I'm sitting at my desk. I don't even carry a bottle of water around with me to, pull it down and take a drink. I just don't do it. So I'm around enough kids with their noses out, and so being in the airport and on the airplane, yeah, I mean, I'm just a rule follower naturally. So I just kind of had to deal with it. And we had our own little row, the three of us, and just kind of hoped nothing would happen. But theme parks were great.
And so on the flying thing though, you guys fly Southwest. That's kind of the carrier. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we fly too, because it's the main carrier out of St. Louis. Yeah. And that is the joy of having a party of three. Cause usually for us it's 3-2, right? It's Paige is off at Mizzou doing stuff. So when you have a party of three, you've booked your own row, which I mean, it's not perfect, but it's better than going solo.
It's better than nothing. Yes.
Yeah. So at least if it's a kid coughing on me, it's gonna be my daughter. Put your mask on. She always has it on, but hey, cover it up even with the mask. Yeah. Okay. So you guys fly down, get there. Where'd you guys stay and how did it all go?
I try to stay as nicely as I can, as cheaply as I can, which I'm sure most people do, but that's just kind of my MO. And being that there really isn't a huge advantage to staying on property these days with fast pass or whatever. I didn't really want to go on a bus, and there's not a lot of advantages. I found it was the what was it called? The Homewood Suites Lake Buena Vista as a Hilton. It was $80 a night for a 2-room suite. So
wow.
That, my kid had her own little room where we could put the pack and play, and we had our own room with the bathroom connecting. There's a little kitchen and everything, and it was a 12-minute drive to Disney. Free parking, free breakfast, free everything. I might feel like I'm a spokesperson for this hotel, but it was fantastic. And I probably booked 3 different hotels and canceled them, trying to find just the right one for the right price. And I landed on that one, and I really, really liked it, all things considered.
That's good to hear. I mean, because right now is the time to experiment with that if you have to, because you're right. I mean, some of the things are gone that we used to enjoy as on-site amenities.
Yeah, and especially
when your child's that young, they're not going to be like, oh, I need a slide at the pool, because they're not going to be worried about that like when they're 9. Then they will.
Right. And we were there for short enough that I didn't really care about amenities, at least like pool and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys drove into the parks. It looks like you did 3 days down there. So walk us through the experience.
Yeah. So we got there on Thursday night. Friday was Magic Kingdom Day because my daughter really, that's her. She wanted to see Mickey's house, aka the castle. She thinks
Mhm.
Mickey lives in the castle, but that's cool because it's close enough. And my MO, and I'm sure yours as well, is get there early because that's
Always.
when you can get the most done. So we got there as early as we could. We were probably at the gate 40 minutes ahead of time, and some of the first in line. And we strolled down Main Street and took some pictures in front of the castle. We were headed straight for Peter Pan, but Peter Pan was broken down most of the day.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so this is the first time it was the first time ever that the first ride I went on in the morning was the carousel.
that's having a kid right there.
Because typically I'm headed straight to Space Mountain, but
Yep.
with a 2-year-old, she's very tall. She was tall enough to go on Mine Train. I didn't want to take her on that. She's a little brave. We'll get to that in a moment. But we ended up going on the merry-go-round, and she loved it. Um, and then we just kind of hit Fantasyland as you do with children. Small World, Winnie the Pooh, Mermaid, Dumbo, Barnstormer. That was her first roller coaster. She did freak out a little bit on that one. Teacups, and by then it was like 11 o'clock, and we were already ready for lunch. So we kind of just destroyed Fantasyland in the morning.
That's what I say. Actually, I mean, if you think about it, even though you did the carousel first, which oh my gosh, don't tell Len Tester, right? I mean, that's that was hard, but I mean, you guys really in the grand scheme of things, by knocking out Fantasyland right there off the bat, it kind of opened up the rest of the day, I'd imagine, for you.
Yeah, and I knew we probably weren't going to go on Thunder or Space or Splash. We could do the rider swap, but I'd been
Mhm.
on those relatively recently, either in Florida or in California, that I didn't like need to go on those as I typically would. So, so we just did some of the slow stuff, which was perfectly fine. And we had an early lunch at Tomorrowland Terrace, which is a great spot. I don't think I'd ever eaten there before,
I don't think I ever have.
but
I've always wanted to.
but now they're serving Columbia Harbor House food. So we
Right.
just had some fried fish and chicken and sat and looked at the castle. How much better can you get?
Yeah, no kidding. That started right after I left in December because
Okay.
I love my Columbia Harbor House. I'm like, oh, dude, it's like the next week after I go home. That's how things always work for me. So yeah, I'll get. It's actually a great place in this situation we're in with COVID because it's partially outdoor, right? I mean, it's covered, but it's open air and there's a little breeze and it's a nice little spot. They need
Yeah.
to use more, I think.
Yeah, it is really nice.
Yeah,
And I will say, I'm not like a big parade person, mainly because it just takes up so much time to
right.
find a spot and watch the 30-minute show and et cetera, et cetera. But those cavalcades were perfect for a little child.
Yes.
And
Or somebody that doesn't have a long attention
or
span.
someone like me. Because those just kept rolling by, and she loved those. I mean, Goofy. There when Goofy came by, we were standing kind of near Country Bear, and we ended up just following it. And she loved. We always watch the parades on YouTube at home, and she ended up dancing behind the parade float from Country Bear to the castle all the way, and people were cheering for her and
Awesome.
laughing and waving at her like she's in the parade. It was like the greatest. That was the best moment. It wasn't even a ride.
You know what? So this I don't even know if we really mentioned this officially, but this was your first time going to Walt Disney World with either of your
Yes.
daughters, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I mean, that's kind of the stuff you always hear about, like, oh, when you have kids or when you take your child to Walt Disney World, it's not going to be the ride on Peter Pan. It's going to be your daughter hanging out and waving to Mickey, just that look, or when Elsa blows her a kiss from a float or something like that. And it's true. I mean, I've seen that time and time again with my kids, and I'm sure that was kind of the same with you.
Yeah, it was great. And enjoying the smaller things. She loved the magic carpets. I'd never been on the magic carpets. I never wanted to go on the magic carpets, but she wanted to. And so we went on it, and it was great. And she still talks about it.
Well,
And
that's so funny.
we couldn't do the typical character meet and greets, obviously, but those little parades were really enjoyable.
But being a child of that age, it's they would love, I'm sure, to meet the characters, but they probably don't know what they don't know, right? I mean, just being able to see Mickey, wave to Mickey, that's the norm for her right now. And the next time, hopefully, when you guys go back and this is all behind us, hey, you get up and give Mickey a hug, get a picture with him. It'll be just kind of the sequence of things for her. It won't be anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, exactly. So
Cool. So that was advantageous though. Getting there early, you guys felt like you were ahead of the crowd the rest of the day and just got everything done at the Magic Kingdom you needed.
definitely, always. I mean, whenever someone asks me for Disney advice, I say just get there early and then talk to Mike Rollman.
That's right. Both good advice. I like that. That's awesome. So, all right. So now you guys hop. So hopping was obviously started at the beginning of the year. You
Yep.
guys went over to the studio. So talk to us about the mechanics of the hopping. Did you just, I mean, was it just like normal days? I mean, anything different?
Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy. We just drove and got a decent parking spot at the studios because it was, in the afternoon. I think we got to studios at like 2:30 and only had to walk in maybe 5 minutes from where we parked. I just wanted to go see the Star Wars stuff once before we were going for real the next day, and just kind of see what we could do in the afternoon. We didn't do a whole lot, but um, we did go on Alien Swirling Saucers, which my daughter did like. She loves the spinning stuff. Um,
It's all that stuff you wouldn't write otherwise. But it's
yeah.
so, it is fun with a kid.
Yeah, and the line for the Millennium Falcon ride wasn't very long, so I got to go on that, and we just rider swapped that.
So
And
you're a big Star Wars fan.
yeah,
What did it live up to the hype, or what'd you think about Smuggler's Run?
I mean, I had read, like I said, I did not avoid spoilers on that. I mean, the line for that ride is amazing. The
Yeah,
queue is incredible.
yeah.
I wish I would have
It
done it.
might be it might be better than the ride itself.
I think it is.
Like where the chess set is, like I could stay in there all day, and the ride kind of gets me. The last time it made me nauseous, and I'm not usually like that, but I was the pilot last time,
Mm.
and I'm terrible at that. When I was the engineer, I was fine.
The coolest thing about it, and I don't think they're still doing this, but because we rider swapped and I was by myself, I got my own cockpit.
Oh, for real? Oh man, that'd have been a photo shoot.
So I was solo, no pun intended, solo pilot with no one else in there with me other than some plexiglass walls. So it
Oh,
was it was cool. And I
okay,
guess they
cool.
just turn everything else on automated because I didn't crash.
Yeah, they should just give you a Chewy. Some guy, bring in a Chewy to sit next to you. I mean, yeah, come on, Disney. It wouldn't be that hard. Just have somebody waiting there. Hey, we got a solo. We need
Yeah.
a Chewy. There you go. Both ways.
So
Okay, so but okay, so the thing you got to remember though about hop into the studios is that right now, if you hop to the studios, you're ineligible for a Rise of the
right.
Resistance boarding group. So I would imagine kind of the goal of this day was to do as much as you could outside of Rise, kind of get some of those things checked off. Like you said, see Galaxy's Edge, see the land.
Yep.
Smuggler's Run was a bonus.
Yep.
So what else did you guys get in, knowing that the next day you're coming back to the studios? Rise is the kind of the top thing.
Sure. I bought a lightsaber because I knew I wanted a the Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi Legacy saber, so I bought that.
The green one.
Yep. And we did get on Midway Mania because the line wasn't very long for that. And
Yeah,
then
remember when that used to be so hard to get
yeah,
on? Now
oh,
it's
I
like,
know. I
oh,
remember.
Toy Story.
I remember waiting an entire day just to get on that at
It's
the very end of the day. Yeah.
it's like it's 15 minutes. What?
Yeah. And then my daughter loves cars, and as Disneyland is closed, I've not been able to bring her to Cars Land out there, but the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy, I guess, can be a close second. She
I have
loved that.
I've not done that. You know what? And that's the first time I've heard those words said in probably a year. I don't even know if people know it exists. Honestly, I mean it's back there behind Rock and Roller Coaster, but
Yeah.
it was decent. I mean, I say I'm going to do it, and I haven't.
It is what it is. I mean, the impressive part about it is they have a life-size animatronic of Lightning McQueen, and the
Nice.
walls pull back, and he's there, and he talks to you. And if you love Lightning McQueen like my kiddo does, I mean, she thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then they have these giant wraparound screens, kind of like Impressions Dave Fronts or like something like that, that has all the characters and they talk and they interact with the animatronic car. So it's a
Sweet.
20-minute show, and sitting and we sat through it twice, and it was I probably only needed to do it once. Um,
You're a good dad.
but I'm also spoiled because if you've been to Disneyland and you've been on Radiator Springs Racers, there's like 15 life-size animatronic cars that are just as good as that one. So those of you like Mike Rollman who haven't been out to Disneyland, you need to, because that ride is a very close second to Rise of the Resistance.
Yes, I am going to get there. I promise you. Especially now that it's been closed for a year. I think that was a sign from God. You better get there when you get the chance.
Yeah.
Don't put it off. But yeah, no, that's cool though.
But if
That's
if you need to waste a half hour and you want to see some impressive technology, Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy is fine.
All right, you
I've
give it
learned to
about
never underestimate anything that Disney produces.
Exactly, exactly. I guess, give that 4 ka-chows,
Yeah.
and, we'll go on from there. Alright, so the rest of the day, though, you got your lightsaber, though. God, I want
Yeah.
one of those so bad. I can't wait. One day, someday, maybe see, I need to go down, like, in April right after I get a tax refund, be like, "This is what I'm gonna use my tax refund."
Yeah,
I
right.
can't justify it otherwise, but, it's one of those things. I will have it. So the rest of the day, though now let me ask you this because I get and I'm sure you had this majorly because you're a big Star Wars fan. Did you start getting anxious about that boarding group the next day?
Oh,
Like you're
heck
there because
yeah.
you're like, oh man, I've seen it now. I got to get on it. Hopefully tomorrow everything works out. How'd that go?
Of course. So I did a lot of research. I'm sure you guys have talked about this plenty. But the first thing I did when we got to our hotel is as I did an internet speed test because I've everything I've heard and read and seen, like the quicker your connection is, the better chance you're gonna get, right? And
Yep.
so I Googled, I pulled up the Google internet speed test in our room with no Wi-Fi, and it was like 4 megabytes. I'm like, that's not gonna cut it.
Oh
So
no
I went
way.
out into the parking lot and it was like 16, like 4 times as fast. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going out in the parking lot at 6:45 in the morning. That's gonna be with no Wi-Fi, and that's what I'm gonna do. Um, and I did the, open the app fresh at 6:50 and ish, and then click on the first join button at 6:57 ish, and then start swiping down to refresh, 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 refresh,
Mhm.
and I got 14.
Wow.
Easy,
I've never gotten lower than 60
done and
something.
done. So I don't know
Ooh,
if I don't know if the Homewood Suites is like boarding group mecca, boarding group heaven. But
whatever it
I
takes.
I was worried and it worked.
So, and also, one tip. I mean, I don't know if it's ever gonna. I always screenshot that sucker as soon as I see it. I'm
Yeah.
sure you did too,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
Any good tech person is gonna
Yes, of
screenshot
course.
the way you can. I had it. I had it right here. Look at the picture. Could be doctored, but it's not. No. So once you get that though, it's kind of a strange way though to start the day, right? I mean, you're out there, you get that adrenaline flowing. It's like it's like we're signing up for a Run Disney race for me. It's like I'm sweating bullets. Like, oh man, I've been the last week. I've been worried about this, and then it happens, and then you gotta go on with your day. So you get out there early, 7 o'clock a.m. The parks, well, the studios was opening at a
It
decent
opened at
eight,
9 that day, I
nine.
think.
Yeah.
So we
So
showed
you
up
guys
about
just kind of get everybody together and head over.
yeah, we showed up around 8 and easy walk to the front gate and I think, I mean, they opened it early. I
Yeah.
think we were on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway by like 8:25 and the park didn't open till 9.
So your daughter liked that as much as watching the videos at home.
Yeah, we watched that one a lot. I think she didn't want to go on it a second time. The line was short enough that we could have just gone around and done it again, but she's like, "No, I don't want to do that." So but yeah, that ride's amazing. I mean, I miss the Great Movie Ride as we probably all do. I wish they could have built that somewhere else,
I agree.
but
I agree.
but
I know a lot of people didn't know the movies. I did. I love the ride, and I don't even watch movies. Like I knew the Wizard of Oz. I never watched those old musicals or anything like that. Didn't watch many westerns, but I appreciated the journey through the movies. And you're a filmmaker, so you know that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I missed it.
definitely, and just the number of robots in that ride.
Yeah, totally. And then
love
the
I love
live,
the robots,
my daughter always got a kick out of the gangsters that pop out
right?
or the
Yeah,
cowboy.
and the real people that participate. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a good combo.
Yeah. So we
All
went
right.
to so we went
Yeah.
to Toy Story Land instead of riding that again.
Okay.
And Ellie, our daughter, worked up the courage. She's like, I want to go on Slinky Dog.
Ooh, that's a big one for a little
She's
kid.
tall enough. So we did it. I got a nice GoPro video on that one of a screaming child.
That's good.
But
That's good.
she's a quick recoverer. So she now talks about it proudly, but at the
Yeah.
time it was sheer terror.
Yeah, I conquered Slinky Dog Dash.
Yes.
That's one of those things.
Yeah.
You know what? The good news about that ride is I mean, it's not super short. Did she think it was over when it stopped in the
I
middle?
think so. Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, we're going again. I didn't think about that. If you're scared, that'd be not good.
Yeah, we're gonna blast off a second time. Why not?
Hold on.
And it
Here
does
we
and then it does the bumps
go.
at the
Yeah.
end. Yeah.
You can't help but really laugh on that part, though. I got to say,
No,
like that's
it's
just
fun.
kind of it's all. But yeah, that's she should be proud of herself.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So
neat.
so we cooled off on Aliens Swirling Saucers because she liked that one. So we went on that one again, which was fun.
Nice. So now, did you have the same thing I get every day when I go there and I have a boarding group? Like I'm just constantly like, okay, when's my group? When's my group?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I think it got called almost immediately, but there's a little bit of flexibility. So
yeah.
so we meandered our way over. We actually did Millennium Falcon one more time because the line was super short at 9 in the morning. And Yeah, they called our boarding group at like 9:10, 9:05, something like that. So
Nice.
on to the main event, which I guess we
Yes.
can't talk too much about, but
I mean, I just don't want to spoil it for anybody that might be going down for the first time, but I mean, definitely impressions, and thoughts.
yeah, I mean, again, don't watch videos if you haven't already because there's so many surprises. So many surprises. And it's not just on the ride,
Yeah, I
you know.
agree. And just one of the things, I mean, I'm sure you saw this too. Look all around you. Like,
Yeah.
look at the entire environment. Of course, they're going to force you through, when you go through an attraction, you're moving from like point A to point B to point C. But don't be scared to look over your shoulder, look behind you. Where'd you come from? Look up because there's stuff everywhere. And you'll notice a lot of nods from not just like the movies you're assuming are going to be a part of this. You might see some stuff from other movies.
Yeah, and I would suggest too, we did the rider switch because my daughter was not tall enough or brave enough to go on that. I would suggest if you do rider switch, the second person that goes through the quote unquote fast pass line, which skips a
Mhm.
lot of the queue,
Yep.
and the queue moves fast enough that I would almost recommend not going in that fast pass line, even if you're doing rider switch, because you miss, especially if it's your first time. If it's your first, if you go
Right.
on it a second time, whatever, but your first time, that the queue moves fast enough and you go through enough rooms and you see enough props and things that if you're a big Star Wars fan, I would suggest just going through the normal line.
I agree. It's very similar to Expedition Everest, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the single rider, you're not seeing anything. You're just boom, you're on
Yeah.
the attraction, where you miss that whole pseudo museum kind of
Yeah.
experience if you skip it. Yeah.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
basically going through like a hidden rebel base, and there's all sorts of
Right.
props and weapons and costumes that you recognize, which are really cool.
Right. You kind of feel like you're going like through like Hoth, the base on
Mhm,
Hoth, or
mhm.
wherever they were in episode 4. I can't remember it right
Yeah.
now. You probably know, right?
Oh,
Well,
Hoth is Empire Strikes Back, number 5. Yep.
yeah. What was the one in episode 4 where they're on that kind of
Yeah, yeah, Yavin 4.
Yavin,
Yeah.
that's it. God, it's just gonna bug me all night. I'm glad you said that. Good. God, I was losing my card here. Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
so
there's so many surprises on that ride. I mean, I knew some of I knew you were gonna be in that big room. I'm speaking vaguely, but
yeah,
but
yeah.
but the way you
Everybody, that's the one thing I think everybody
yeah,
knows because every marketing
but
shot.
the way
Yeah,
you get into that big room
right. It's
was a
awesome.
surprise.
Yeah, it
This
is.
is cool stuff.
That's so cool. I want to talk about it again.
Ups and downs, so to
Yes,
speak.
yes, yes, yes. All kinds of yeah. I gotta stop because I'd be ticked if somebody gave it away to me. So I'm not. Okay, so you do that. You're kind of pumped up. You have your lightsaber from the day before. How does the rest of the day unfold? Because I know eventually you guys hop over to Epcot.
We did. Yeah, so daughter wanted to go on aliens rolling saucers again, so we did that. She wanted to see Lightning McQueen again, we did that. But we had lunch at the Docking Bay 7,
Mhm.
which was one of the restaurants in Galaxy's Edge. I
Yep.
really like the mobile ordering system. I never really used that before. It was
Awesome.
very intuitive, very efficient, as long as you book it early enough.
Yep.
So we had some funky salads and a funky dessert from Batu at the Docking Bay 7, and then just kind of walked around for a little bit. We told our daughter that she could buy one thing each day. Day one at Magic Kingdom, she picked out the fire truck from Cars, whose name is Red. She really wanted
Very
Red. And then day two, we were actually walking away from Galaxy's Edge, and we went into kind of past Muppets, and we went into the gift shop that's connected to Star Tours. And she saw Baby Yoda, Grogu, and that was like she grabbed it. I'm like, all right, it's yours now. So that was souvenir on day two, and she got so many comments from people as she was carrying Grogu around the parks. Look at the kid with the Baby Yoda. It's so
but see,
adorable.
as a dad though, didn't that just make you so proud that she picked that out? You're like,
Yes.
"Wow, this is
Yes.
awesome."
I even offered her like a pack of 30 princesses. I mean, do you want this? She's like, no, I want the fire truck and I want the Yoda.
Nice. I like it. Yeah,
So
I get it. I get it. That's awesome. Look at the child carrying the child. That's pretty sweet. Okay, so I want to make sure we get all this
yeah,
in. So
sure.
we just hopped over to Epcot.
Yeah.
How'd that all go? What'd you guys do?
Yeah, so we took the Skyliner over to Epcot, which is my first experience on that, and that's awesome. It's
So
so
yeah,
peaceful.
that needs to be everywhere.
It's so
Yes.
peaceful and smooth and quiet after being in Galaxy's Edge, which was crowded despite being not as crowded as it could have been. And landed at International Gateway right at 2 p.m. when it was time to enter Epcot. It was beautiful. I love the Skyliner. Um, so there wasn't a big goal with Epcot. I just love Epcot, so I wanted to go there. But we were able to do it, it was the World Showcase was very crowded because it was the arts festival, whatever that's called.
Mm, yep.
But Future World, we went on, Figment, Land, Nemo, walked around Living Seas, and even went on Frozen in like a couple hours.
Wow.
Um, just kind of knocked off all the rides that she could go on, which was fun.
That's kind of a good tip too. When a festival's going on, Future World's going to be the place to kind of you can get a lot done, because the focus of there are some things in the festival are towards Future World, but not necessarily in Future World proper. That's a good point.
Yeah,
I mean,
we didn't wait more than 5 minutes for Land, Nemo, Figment. Obviously, Frozen was like 35 minutes, but that's short in comparison to normal.
nice. So, yeah, so just a quick afternoon over there. Did you guys stay close? How'd you
I
guys?
had a reservation for chefs de France for dinner, so we ate a dinner like 5 o'clock because the kiddo, and then I took my wife and kid back to the hotel, and then but Epcot was still open for a couple hours, so I went back. Like, I'm not wasting this money. My wife's like, I'll read a book, it's fine. And so I had to return to see my favorite attraction of all time, maybe not all time, but at least it's up there. Impressions de France, the movie.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Hashtag Scotty G is he's cheering you on. That is his favorite too. And it's up there on my list too. The music, whenever the music comes on hold with Disney, I'm like, yeah, I love it. It's awesome. There's the story.
It's I will fight for that thing until the bitter end.
I agree.
I think it's better than anything at Epcot. I think it's way better than Soarin'. If you guys, if you listening have not seen that movie, we need like hashtag save Impressions de France because Beauty and the Beast is just like slipping in there.
Oh, dude, that is so horrible.
And I haven't seen that, but I've heard it's terrible.
It's terrible. It is. And I mean, I like Beauty and the Beast music just because our podcast is called Be Our Guest, right? I mean, there's the loose association, but it's bad. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, Impressions of France it's a time capsule at this point, but it's all, the music, everything about it just screams early Epcot.
It is stunning. It is sublime. It is beautiful. If you haven't seen it, I mean, it's not like the 360 movies in China and Canada where you have to stand and suffer through.
Yeah, you need to sit.
You sit in the theater and they pull back the curtains and it's 5 giant movie screens that's like 200 degrees.
Yeah,
like yeah. And each one is like super duper high definition. I mean, they filmed it on film back in the 80s, but they've since digitized it. It's probably 8K, whatever. I mean, and every screen was its own camera. And so it's just like, it is just this stunning footage of 1980s France, but most of it's pretty, evergreen. I mean, it's landscapes and castles and vistas and just this beautiful classical music. And it is.
And people riding 10 speeds in jorts with no helmets.
And guys in Speedos on piers. Yeah, all those things. Everything you want in France.
It makes me want to go to the patisserie right afterwards. I'll tell you that one scene, I'm just like, I gotta have an eclair.
Yeah, and it's combinations of these amazing aerial shots, and then they just like stick the camera on a cart that's wheeling through a markiterplace. And wherever you look, you notice something else. It's amazing. Please go see that movie, people.
This is the longest we ever spent on this, and I do not regret it. This exactly. It must be. This is the way.
And they have this just like rocking sound system in there too that's blasting all this French classical music. One of the songs, the song that plays near the end when they fly over the Eiffel Tower, maybe, is the organ symphony. I forget what it, but
yes, that big.
Yeah, it's like dun, 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 dun. We had that music play in our wedding when we walked out.
Oh man, that is perfect. I guarantee you there's so many people listening today like, yes, that is exactly right, because we're all I got to get back now.
Best thing at Epcot.
Okay, so I want to make sure we get all this. Yep. So you went and did a little solo time, which I like. Yes. It's a good wife there to let you do
and
that.
I brought my camera with me only when I was by myself, and I took a bunch of pictures. I did the same in Magic Kingdom the first day. I went back for a couple hours and just kind of roamed around with my camera. I went on Space Mountain a couple times and just kind of hung out.
Good tip. Okay, so the last day, it looks like you guys were getting ready to fly back to St. Louis, but you had breakfast at Chef Mickey's.
We did. I wanted one closer up character experience because the normal ones are not available, and so we booked Chef Mickey, and our daughter loved it. I mean, we had a nice spot in the corner, farther away from everyone else, which was nice. Like, they had the tables fairly distanced. I feel like they could have spread them out a little bit more. That may just be me. But it was great. And the characters came through a dozen times in the hour we were there. It's a little pricey, but I think it was worth it. It was a great way to end the trip.
It is. It makes going home a little bit easier. But I haven't done it since post-COVID, so I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah, and I know I hadn't done it since I was a little kid. I think it's originally was a buffet, and it's obviously not a buffet anymore. But they bring you out way too much food, and if you run out, they'll bring you more. So it's basically a buffet, but you don't have to get up and serve yourself.
Sounds good. All right. So as we wrap it up, sounds like you had a great trip. This always interests me because when the kids get home, they talk about the trip, right? Or you talk to them about it, but a lot of times they'll say kind of stuff like you didn't anticipate, you didn't, expect. Is there anything your daughter like remembers or, talks about now that you guys are home about the trip that you weren't expecting she would, would be something high on her list?
Not the answer you're looking for, but the smoke detector went off in our hotel room because the steam from the shower set it off, and that she freaked out. She's afraid of smoke detectors now. But
Oh,
besides
great.
that, like every time she sees the one in our house now, she's like, "Is that gonna go off? Is the beep gonna happen?" I'm like, "No."
Yes. That is being a parent.
There's one negative to the Homewood Suites.
Yes.
Um, but no, I mean, I think she will just I mean, she's young and she's just about 3, but she has an incredible vocabulary, but maybe not quite the memory you would expect, but little things come out. Like she'll be going fast on her bike and she'll say, "I'm on Slinky Dog," or she'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
spinning around and "I'm on the teacups." You just get little references, and it's just fun to see how she associates things with what we experienced in Florida.
That's super cool. And one last question, because you are, you work in education, so does your wife. So you are out in the public, not hold up, and a lot of teachers, well, not a lot of teachers anymore, but some teachers are still teaching from home virtually. A lot of teachers are back in the classroom at this point with in-person instruction. How did you feel compared to, I think we mentioned this at the top of the show, but just kind of to reinforce it, like, did you feel safe enough down there? How'd you feel Disney was doing? Because as a teacher, we talk about this a lot, like, right, the best thing you can do is be consistent with expectations. Did you feel Disney was kind of taking care of that?
Yeah, once we were out of the airport, I was very pleased the entire time. I think Disney was still at 35% then. I don't know what they're up to now. Um, it felt crowded ish. Obviously, not near as crowded as going on around Christmas or whatever, but I felt like mass compliance was at 99%.
Cool.
And generally, spacing in lines worked. There are a few times where I had to turn around and glare at the person behind me, but generally,
Yeah. Get up.
generally it worked. You know, um, and yeah, I never really felt unsafe at Disney. A lot of hand sanitizer. Like I don't. There's a lot of stuff you got to touch. Midway Mania, you got to pull on that thing, and no one cleaned it. Um, but generally, I was, and even indoor dining, I felt fine with, which I had done none of in the last year. Because it
Yeah.
was spread apart enough, and we still put our masks on when we weren't eating, even when we were inside. And generally, I was very pleased.
That's cool. All right. Well, Mike, hey, I appreciate you coming on the show to share this, because those first trips are always the most special. And again, on behalf of all of us, thanks for being in the classroom. I know that it's been a tough year for all educators, and you guys are getting it done. So thanks for that. And thanks for coming on the show.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
and I have one thank you for you. You may not even remember this, but when I was on your show 2 years ago, I promoted my podcast, which is since finished, where we were going through every Disney movie in order, and you let me talk about it, and a lot of viewers came from your show. Well, sorry, listeners from your show to mine. And so thank you to the Be Our Guest listeners that hopped over to the Disney One by One podcast, because our listenership bumped up considerably after I was on your
Yeah.
show.
Oh man, that makes me feel great. Now, is it still out there even though you're not
Yeah,
producing
it's
it?
still out there. So we went through all 58 animated classics in order and talked about them. We did an episode every week for 58 weeks, and we'll actually do one about Raya and the Last Dragon coming up soon, because that movie just came out. So
There you go.
we finished it. We got through Frozen 2 and we finished, and we had nothing else to do. But we'll continue to update that show, Disney One by One, as the new movies come out.
It must feel good though now that you're caught up. It's like, oh, we just got to do one.
Yeah, I mean, what are we on, 1800 for you?
It's almost,
Yeah.
yeah. When you count all the live shows, we're almost to 2,000 shows.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
all the
I did 58. I'm like, do you know what? That's great. We're Pixar? No, we're not doing Pixar. We're done.
Give it a plug though, so people can check it out though, since it's still out there.
Yeah, it's called Disney One by One, or you can search Disney 1X1. It's on any podcast platform, or just Google it; it'll come up. And yeah, you can listen to every episode. And when we started that show, Disney Plus was not a thing, and so I was finding these movies at the library, on the internet, in other ways that I may not want to talk about. But now that they're all available, you could easily go back through our entire catalog, watch every movie, and they're relatively evergreen, so they'll generally make sense with what date you're listening to them on.
Cool. We'll check it out. All right, Mike. Well, you have a good weekend. Thanks again for being out there, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right. Don't forget, today's show brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. Check them out today over at themagicforless.com. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney getaway. Spring break still possible this year. A lot of folks booking last minute trips. Maybe just want to go down and get to a swimming pool, go, see a couple of parks while you're there. Long weekends are great. Maybe the kids want to go down for spring break, whatever. We can get you booked all the way through the middle of 2022 as well. Some great discounts out there. So just drop by the magicforless.com. Check out all the great specials And while you're there, fill out the quote form and I'll take great care of you if you mention the Be Our Guest podcast. Again, themagicforless.com. Also, please support the Be Our Guest podcast by using our Amazon affiliate link, beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. It's a free way to support the show with one extra click. beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And finally, thank you to our patrons. You guys are really helping us out here to put out 4 shows a week, plus a live show every Sunday night, even in this time while travel's down. And it's a lot of fun being able to talk Disney with you. So thanks to our patrons. If you'd like to check that out, just visit patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. We're on Instagram and Twitter at beourguestmike, Facebook and YouTube to search for the Be Our Guest podcast. And join us this Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. It's the BOGP open line with myself and hashtag Scotty G. We're talking about the Disney news of the week and taking your calls for an hour. All right, we're going to duck out of here. And until we get back together again this Wednesday in 48 hours to answer your listener questions, for Mike, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Monday. Time to head back to work, and we'll see you real soon. Alfred's asking in the chat, is it not on Spotify? He's looking for
I
it.
don't think it's on Spotify.
Not on Spotify.
On,
Look on Apple Podcasts.
on Apple Podcasts, or you can go on Podbean where it's hosted. You'll be able to find it. Cool. I never put it on Spotify because I use a lot of copyrighted music in it.
Yeah.
I feel like Spotify's a little more strict about that.
Probably a good idea. Yes.
I mean, I guess it could probably be fair use. I could probably claim fair use because we're using it for review. I'm like playing clips from the movies and stuff.
I've heard a lot of people that are using things for fair use, and they still, it's because it's an algorithm, right? They don't. It's just you don't want to have to go down that path where you're like justifying yourself because. But yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I have Disney1x1.com. That might still be available.
There you go.
There as well.
Disney1x1.com, Alfred.
Yeah.
We'll find it. He's smart. All right. We're saved. Good deal. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time, bud.
Thanks. It was fun.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.